Rakyat Malaysia segera memberikan suara mereka dalam pemilu. Banyak yang memprediksi kalau ini akan jadi pemilu paling ketat sejak kemerdekaan. Setengah dari 13 juta pemilih terdaftar adalah perempuan. Partai berkuasa dan oposisi sudah mendedikasikan manifesto politik mereka untuk memenuhi kebutuhan perempuan. Temily Tianmay mencari tahu apa pendapat perempuan Malaysia atas tawaran partai-partai itu.
Saya berada di Bangsar untuk mencoba mewawancarai beberapa perempuan yang sedang istirahat makan siang. Apa yang jadi keprihatinan mereka dalam kehidupan sehari-hari?
First, safety.
Safety, especially at night. Where some countries you can even walk at 2 o'clock in the morning without being afraid of anything. But I think everybody knows it can't happen here.
Security, as in safety, because I want to go out of my house thinking that it's safe for me.
Tentulah sexual harassment kan. Kalau office, lelaki mesti buat sexual harassment.
I think respecting women in workplaces. Yeah. I feel that, when a woman has potential, they don't actually tap into it. They kind of just shove them aside and say, okay, just keep quiet, you're just a woman.
Job opportunities or political participation, so more representation of women in politics.
At this juncture, it's actually raising a family and having a career at the same time. I think that's the key lah kiranya, because you have to juggle both.
Banyak yang tak elok. Badan yang elok.
Banyak apa tu gejala yang tak sihat.
Tak sihat lah.
Apakah ini diangkat dalam kampanye pemilu?
No.
Sorry to be frank.
Not so.
A lot of the things that the government is trying to do, like to support women who are career women who are actually at the workplace, where they actually try and provide, like childcare centres at the workplace and all that. But I think the private sector needs to follow that as well.
Part of the manifesto that talked about gender equality or women's empowerment, but it seems very superficial because the last time the Prime Minister spoke, he said we don't even need a women's ministry. So I don't have much faith. So of course it will affect how I vote.
Sejumlah kelompok yang mengadvokasi hak perempuan pun tak yakin kedua manifesto ini cukup mengatasi masalah yang dihadapi perempuan.
The priorities seem to be completely off base in the sense that we're focusing on getting more women into the workforce and not providing them with social safety nets, appropriate social safety nets. We're looking at uplifting our religious institutions without increasing their transparency and accountability. We're looking at reducing incidents of sexual abuse and harassment without a sexual harassment bill. I mean, what is that, And in both cases, both manifestos fall really short.
I think what they have not looked at is in the earlier initiative, especially by Barisan Nasional, where have you failed? It has a lot to do with a welfare-oriented approach. Now, what we want is an empowerment approach. And an empowerment approach means that the women's capacity to make decisions, to be involved in the income generation herself, and as well as the community involvement in the empowerment process is very fundamental.
April tahun lalu, Perdana Menteri Najib Razak mengumumkan bakal meneruskan peran Kementerian Urusan Perempuan, Keluarga dan Pembangunan Masyarakat. Ini dilakukan setelah bekas menterinya mengundurkan diri.
Bukan wanita yang pasif, bukan wanita yang fikir bahawa dia tidak boleh berjaya. Kita nak wanita yang berani bersaing.
Taking over the position of women ministry, first of all, we found that, Najib, he may not have really been that gender sensitive towards the women issue or the gender issue. And then secondly that, is there not, after all these 50 years, is there no other body in the Barisan's government to appoint a woman who is supposed to be more sensitive towards the gender issue to take over the position?
If you are the women's minister and you come out on National Women's Day and announce that the women's movement is irrelevant because Malaysia has granted its women the right to vote since independence, then you still need a lot of educating on women's issues and the status of women in your country today.
Tapi kelompok-kelompok perempuan juga menentang pengelompokan masalah ini di bawah label isu-isu perempuan.
The women issue is also about class. Okay, they're not about women issue just generally, but women is also very conscious about class issue. It's also conscious about discrimination, on the ethnic ground, and discrimination on the geographical differences, the urban versus the rural.
Policies on the economy, they affect women. That if you make policies on employment, they affect women. Sexual harassment affects women. You know what I mean? Like, everything is interlinked. You can't really isolate one or the other and say, this is a woman's issue, because it encourages that. And that's why we see women's wings dealing with women's issues.
Aktivis senior Irene berpendapat intinya adalah harus ada lebih banyak perempuan yang dilibatkan dalam proses pengambilan keputusan.
Meaning, if we look at political parties, a lot of the time when they do have meetings, that I was there, I know what it is. Then after the meetings, the men have their own boys' club meetings, and where we are not part of that, and that's where a lot of discussions, strategy building is done. And so we do not become part of it, and that becomes for me problematic in the way we understand and perceive and make decisions. So I think there has to be a whole thinking out of the normal framework, the paradigm, so that we facilitate and create an enabling environment for women's participation. And this enabling environment is what the political parties need to define and redefine within the realities lived by women.
Apakah langkah berani ini akan diambil atau tidak? Sekarang tergantung pada seberapa jauh pemerintah mendatang ingin melangkah.